land on a special edition of Orange Bloods Live. Cam Coleman,
Oh.
number one player in the transfer portal, number one receiver on the market, potential first-round draft pick, visited schools all over the country, and emerges as a Texas Longhorn. Breaking news, Cam Coleman commits to Texas. This is Orange Bloods Live. That is Anwar Richardson and Jason Sukamel. I'm Jeff Ketchum. Do us a solid. Hit the thumbs up button. Why wouldn't you want to click on a thumbs up button on a video talking about maybe the single biggest portal additions the Longhorns have made since the era of the portal window, unless we want to talk about Quinn Ewers, but it is a real conversation to be had, given the statement that Texas is sending, given that this was somebody that they didn't shoot from the layup line with. They really had to go out and get this. There's so much to talk about. Jump into the Specs chat. Do all of that. Anwar, I'll give you the first ball on the tee. Where do you want to go? Where do we start with this?
I mean, badass. I'll just start there. It's a badass. It's a badass. Honestly, Catch, might be their best transfer portal addition under the Steve Sarkisian era. If you start thinking about stuff, and look, Matthew Golden became Matthew Golden, right? He wasn't Matthew Golden when he arrived here, okay? But he walks out as a different player. Then, you look at Quinn Ewers, right? And Quinn Ewers might be...
It has to be Quinn up until now.
Up until now, Quinn probably was your number one person. But even Quinn came in with a little bit of question marks. He was kind of buried on the depth chart on Ohio State. Still had to come and beat out somebody. So you're still coming into it. It was still like, okay, well, what does Quinn need to do? What can Quinn prove? This is the first time we can notice that Texas went out and got creme de la creme. Number one, consensus on everybody's board. Not, hey, maybe he could be something. Maybe he can evolve into something. He is that guy. He is the guy that we're talking about as a first-round pick. He is the guy that you would say is arguably the best receiver in the SEC. He is the guy that was coveted, that a lot of programs wanted. And he is the guy that Texas ends up getting. To me, I would say it's number one going in on Steve Sarkisian. I think it's a hell of an acquisition. It's the thing that we've been talking about, that Arch Manning needs to have these kind of weapons, and they're able to pull it off. There's a lot of meat on that bone, but I'll just start it there so I don't talk for the next 30 minutes.
Jason, I think, if we just start with, is this the biggest piece of portal recruiting news of the Sarkisian era? Probably. And Texas, a year ago, they kind of punted on that first portal window and they never got a chance to get it back. But we have seen them in previous years, Adonai Mitchell and Trey Moore. There have been, Isaiah Bond was a big name in the portal. None of these guys were, I think, where Cam Coleman is. But when you look at Quinn Ewers, it feels like for me the difference there is that Texas was always thought to be the school that he wanted to go to. He had been committed to Texas. There was a unique story there. And when he came back, it really was, he looked at Texas and Texas Tech and came to Texas. This was much different. This was a kid not on your home turf, a kid with, a kid that if he could go pro right now would be the difference between him and so many guys that we otherwise talk about in the portal, Jason, is this kid, if he could go pro, would be a first-round draft pick this year. He can't because he's only a sophomore. So he has to put one more year in as opposed to a guy like Raleek Brown. Did I say that right, Anwar?
Like Raheem.
Raleek Brown.
Yeah.
That guy wanted to test the NFL waters, and then the stock that he will report that he got back said maybe you should go back for another year. Here he is. Not quite the same thing. To see him go on visits to Alabama, A&M, Texas Tech, the biggest spenders, the biggest portal programs in the country, to get him first and then to survive. It's a different portal narrative and storyline, I suppose, than we've ever seen before. Maybe that makes it feel so big.
Yeah, even Adonai Mitchell, we kind of knew that one was going Texas's way, and there was never a lot of competition there. I mean, he's from Alabama. Listen, Alabama, he just left Alabama's campus today, right? Like, I mean, I don't know about you guys. I thought this thing might drag out another couple of days. I wasn't expecting Sunday at 12:30 we'd be doing a Cam
I
Coleman.
thought it might be tonight, but I did not
at the earliest. Yeah.
I didn't think the Jaguars playoff game was going to be impacted by this so soon. Yes.
But, we heard confidence from Texas like all along. They got the first visit, you said. He went from Austin to College Station, and then he goes to Texas Tech, which is always a little bit frightening with the way Texas Tech can now throw around money, right? And then he goes to his home state, Alabama, last, and then leaves there and shortly after commits to Texas. But we'd heard confidence, when he first visited Texas. I know I did. I think you guys maybe did too. Reported yesterday that we were hearing, hey, there was still confidence in Austin despite these other visits. But yeah, this is this is the story of the transfer portal window. I mean, you still got some other good players out there, Sam Levitt and some others who will make headlines. But Cam Coleman, you said it, Catch. He's a probable first-round draft pick when he comes out next year. He's the type of, like you like to say, guarantee on the box player that is going to make this offense a lot better. He's the kind of weapon Texas hasn't really had maybe in that explosiveness. I mean, Ryan Wingo's really good. They've got some good players, but boy, teaming up Cam Coleman, you got Wingo now, you've got a tight end in the portal, your running game, you're retooling. Offensive line still a work in progress, but who knows? This may entice offensive linemen and say, you know what, I want to be a part of that offense. But just a huge day. How would I compare it to Quinn? I mean, Quinn's such a different situation, a quarterback. Those guys are the most important position in the sport, maybe in all of sport, like Sark likes to say. But boy, pound for pound talent, man. I don't know that Texas has had anybody quite like Cam Coleman.
And Catch, man, it's so, what a difference a week makes, because a week ago, all people, Texas fans, were talking about was losing Parker Livingston. And now it's like, who? What? Like, it seems like such small potatoes at this moment.
I gotta be honest, the Parker Livingston departure helps. Like, they were willing to give that guy $500,000, and I don't know what Cam Coleman cost, but everything that you could throw into the kitty, wherever you can say from, helped. It all helped. There have been,
at this point,
Bo
all
Barnes
the guys
just left the Texas program. Like,
Amy
all
French
the money is being shifted. It's not like they're saving money. This isn't one of those deals where it's like, I'm going to get ready to sell the company, so let me sell off all the expensive stuff because I ain't got to worry about it anymore. This is, and I'm writing about it right now for my 10 Thoughts from the Weekend, and Anwar did in his Sunday pulpit as well. There's a philosophical change that's taking place, and this may end up being the moment that we look back on historically and say that's when Texas became a portal program to a certain extent, because and maybe they'll never quite be that. I say that somewhat tongue in cheek because I think there is a perfect blend that I don't think anybody's completely mastered yet what it looks like. The way Indiana does it won't be the same way that Texas or Georgia or Alabama does it or Ohio State does it, but all of those other schools, Georgia's a perfect example. They're trying to figure out what's the right combination. And I think Georgia and Texas have been the most reluctant to give up their territory, right? It's we're killing it in high school football recruiting. We're signing number one classes. Forgive us if we don't change our ways. But I would argue that in the last 2 years, Georgia's they won't have won national championships when they were there for the taking, because they did have the lowest percentage of transfer starts coming in. They didn't have enough Zachariah Branches just kind of sprinkled on the roster. Well, Texas, if this were just about Cam Coleman, that would be one thing, right? Texas went out and got a big piece. But while there's an offensive lineman discussion that just needs to be compartmentalized and put aside for a second, Texas has gone out and got arguably the top running back that's actually available in the portal, although I think, you're probably maybe second best. I think we got to give the kid from Michigan his due. He was maybe the best running back in America before injuries kicked in. Although I've heard it'll be interesting to see what happens with the bidding war with that kid, because there's talk that he may have to miss the spring with injuries because he's still not all the way back. So just
Isn't he Justice Haynes you're talking about?
Yes.
Aren't they talking about West Virginia for a landing spot for him, which seems like
Well, I heard Georgia Tech was the reason why he went into the portal.
Yeah.
Was that they were going to pay him $2 million.
Was it Georgia Tech? Maybe I'll get my schools confused. But yeah, to go from Michigan to, I just wondered about that too. And that's not what we're here to talk about. If he's just not near fully recovered, because it seems like his value has gone way down.
But you've got the running back position. So Cam Coleman, number one receiver, Raleigh Brown, among the best running backs, certainly an upgrade of what they would have had a year ago in an all Big 12 running back who has 5-star pedigree, who has really been productive his entire career, whether it was at USC or Arizona State. He missed essentially 2 full years with injuries, but really good player. They've gone out and got probably the best, just flat out massive nose tackle candidate that was on the board for my money. And the Geffard kid, you've got Rasheed Miles comes in yesterday, arguably the number one defensive player in the portal, period. He wasn't even really on. When I was putting my portal rankings together, I got a man crush on Rasheed Miles. I was like, I love this guy. Yeah, and had him really high up my rankings. And it was like linebacker's a big need for Texas, but it didn't seem like that he was their first target. And then lo and behold, at the end of this weekend, here he is on campus. They get that done. I know that wasn't inexpensive, because the number I didn't get confirmed from the Texas side, and I have not heard on Biles, but I had somebody tell me that the agent was asking for a couple of million. So I don't think he got that, but like whatever he probably got was a kissing cousin to that. And oh, by the way, I think Bo Masco, for me, one of the top 2 or 3 corners in this. So they are.
By the way, Catch, don't forget, they overhaul special teams, right? I mean,
oh yeah.
For whatever.
Anwar's favorite.
But they did that last year. They did go. It was 2 years ago where they were like, we're not even going to go get a punter. We don't have to.
Anwar's mad that they only took one long snapper. He wants 2 or 3 of those long snappers.
Listen, Jeff Banks is going to offer a gunner from West Palm Beach.
But I wanted you. That is what I've said they should do. When you have 105, I literally would have a scout do nothing but watch the best special teams players in the country and be like, this guy is the best MFing gunner ever. He can't do anything else. But on special teams, he's a freaking demon. I would put that dude. Who was the guy with the Patriots? Matthew Slater. I'd get me 5 Matthew Slaters, but that's for another conversation. I just think that this is the cherry on top of a portal Sunday of commitment that they've made. And look, all of us heard from our sources. We've been talking about this for 6 to 8 weeks, that there was an anticipation that, all right, guys, we know we messed up. When we get to the portal this year, watch. And it wasn't a lot of like specific names that I was hearing. There was a whole lot of, we're ready, and money won't be an issue.
Hey, but 4 days ago, 3 days ago,
do you have? Because 12 months ago, I was getting a lot of, hey man, y'all need to send people to the Texas One Fund if you can, because we got unpaid bills and we need people giving money. So they're getting ready to spend a bunch of money in the portal, and I'm like, you guys out here hustling on these streets for nickels? What are you doing? What's going on? What's up? We got enough money. What do you mean you have enough money? We have enough money. We'll be able to do whatever it is that we want to do and accomplish in the portal. I got these very vague answers, but the answer was always no cap. Whatever it takes is whatever it takes, and we got it. They've delivered. They still have to go get these offensive linemen, but in terms of like being aggressive on war and getting the best possible targets, we could split hairs over whether a guy's actually the best at his position. But they've gone kind of position by position in areas of need and really landed some high-profile, expensive, and yet high-end quality prospects.
So, Catch, you and I talked earlier today, and what Texas fans are seeing is almost a philosophical change in real time. And where Texas decided before, like, hey, if we're going to spend money, we're going to spend it primarily on the high school kids, and then we'll sprinkle in a couple of transfer portal guys. And what Texas realized now, Catch, is that, you know what? If we got to spend 600 thou, 700 thou, a mil, you know what we're going to do? We're going to get it on a proven guy in the portal who we know is going to check all the boxes, then some random guy out of Florida, someplace in Texas, California, you know, wherever, Hawaii, it is what it is. Texas is now saying to themselves, wait a second, this doesn't make any sense. Like, why are we overspending and having dead money on our roster with these guys who are going to take multiple years to develop? No, we're not going to pay you, Bo Barnes. We're not going to pay you who go down the list, Parker Livingstone. No, we're not going to pay you all of that. We don't think that. Now it's like, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to get a Raleek in here, and for the same price,
and maybe Hollywood Smothers as well.
It's Smothers, right? And they're like, wait a second. So we either pay some of these guys, all the running backs who left, or you just say to yourself, no, I'm going to get the guy who checks the boxes. And so what you're realistically saying, I don't want to say that you're officially, I'll say this for Overreaction Monday. I don't want to say that you're officially seeing the death of high school recruiting, but what you're seeing is it's being de-emphasized. And those guys, they're going to get a little change. They're going to get their money. But the big money now, Texas is saying, we're going to go to our proven guys. We're still going to develop guys. But now we're going to go get some badasses out the portal. And we're just not going to overspend on these high school guys who are really not giving us any ROI, return on investment.
Listen, I have this in my column that I have obviously am hours away, and all of this makes for a very problematic hitting my normal timeline for a column to stop and have to both write an instant analysis article, which I'm in the middle of, and doing the show right now. So we'll see how my Sunday 10 thoughts go. But this quote.
Hey, the way I'm going to have some drinks today, your 10 thoughts are going to be fantastic, Catch.
It kind of sucks that this just happened because Cam Coleman now is the story.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't my lead.
And so you just wrote all of that? Like you got like 1,000 words for nothing? You just up in smoke?
It's not up in smoke. It's just that it may be that my lead.
Shit. Zach just said Smothers is official to Texas. Now, Zach said that. If he's wrong, blame him.
Well, yeah, I am not doing that. I'm not doing that again. I did that the other day when someone was. So much has happened. I can't even remember who the hell it was that.
Chad told you that.
What player was? Oh, it was. I see. On3 is reporting as of a minute ago that Hollywood Smothers has flipped his commitment from Alabama to Texas. Jason, can you take the lead on that on the site?
Yeah, I'm gonna hop off the show. Let you guys carry on. I'll take care of it.
Thank you. So more Hollywood Smothers now committing to Texas, which I'll just finish the point that I was getting ready to make. Sarkisian 8 weeks ago was asked about the portal. He was asked about high school recruiting. He was asked about his preferences and the way that they approached it 8 weeks ago. And part of like a big word salad of an answer that he gave to one of the questions, he said out loud to conclude his point, guys transfer and then you try to recruit really good high school kids, end quote. Somewhere between 8 weeks ago and this week, we've seen that ideology completely blown up. And there's a story there that one day when Steve Sarkisian is asked about it, and he actually wants to let us in on the secret, a real ideology change has been made. And if you're a Texas football fan, I think the best thing that I would tell you about your program today in addition to the Arch Manning, the Colin Simmons, and the guys that are on there, this is a program that's not banging its head into the wall anymore on this issue. And 2 months ago, I would have said, I think they still are, just by what Sarkisian was saying. Like, it's not like, well, he was showing us, he was telling us he was doing both. But now they are showing us. We're not telling you that things are going to be different. They're not telling us we've changed. They're doing it with action. Don't tell me, show me. And this is, I think the Hollywood Smothers commitment on War may be the best example of this. They could have sat on their laurels with Raleigh Brown. And they're like, well, you know, it reminds me of that scene in Social Network. You ever seen that movie?
No, I haven't.
There's a line in there where Justin Timberlake is playing the guy that started Napster. Mm-hmm. And one of the real famous quotes in the movies is like, do you know what's cooler than $1 million? And everybody kind of like looks around and he's like, $1 billion. And I kind of feel like that's what this was for them at the running back position. They kept saying, we want to take two. They kept saying when the Brown kid from Louisville, Isaac Brown, there's so many Browns in the portal right now. I think I almost said 8 different wrong Browns. When Isaac Brown was in the portal and looking to go there, they were still talking to Jaden Baugh. They were still talking to Raleigh Brown while Isaac Brown had not yet made a decision. They were still waiting on that. And there was always this sense that we don't know who our 1A and 1B are, but we want to get 2 guys that are good enough that on one day, one can be the A and the other one can be the B. And oh, by the way, then we'll add Derek Cooper to that running back problem taken care of. Well done, Texas staff and Brandon Harris and all of you that have done this, assuming that Raleigh Brown doesn't in any shape, form, or fashion bail off. What an offensive skill position bonanza they've added on War in terms of proven talent. All 3 of these guys individually, I think, can scare the ever-living crap out of opposing defensive coordinators. They're all guys that can make you miss in space. They're all guys that can make off big plays. If I had any concerns at all about Hollywood and Raleigh Brown, is that they're more similar than they're not. I think both of these guys in a normal offense could be an all-purpose back that you give 15 carries a game to, and maybe 15 to 18 touches. Maybe that's how maybe they're still like who's our goal line back? Maybe they need to figure that out, but maybe they just think, you know what we're going to do at running back next year? Put pressure on teams. You're not going to know if our guy's going to run routes. You don't know what we're going to do with him. You're going to be worried about Cam Coleman. I'm really impressed by what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball when just 48 hours ago, it looked like the defense was getting maybe more attention than the offense. Today, the entire offense looks completely different than it did when the season ended.
So there's a couple of things, Catch. I think a couple of things. One, you're right. I think philosophically, Sark was all about the high school guys and the high school recruitment. And I don't think he's going to tell you that that's not going to change. But you know what I think really happened, Catch? He realized, like the Chris Brown song said, these blanks ain't loyal. And he realized in real time, because you remember, Catch, the one thing they prided themselves off of the last few years has been their lack of attrition, right? We never lose guys that we want. If we want them, we keep them. We always keep our guys, right? They pride themselves. They said there was one guy that they lost, Sadir Mitchell. The only guy that they said that they wanted to keep that eventually went in the portal. Outside of that, but what happened is that the season ended and they were trying to keep guys. And these guys are like, man, the hell with this. And Sark thought, man, we got culture here. We're good here. Like, everyone's good. And they're like, nah, I ain't good. And then we're like, hey, then they had to have some real conversations about money. And the guys are like, man, I ain't taking no pay cut. The hell with that. And you saw one guy after another go in the portal. And you know what they said? All right, Well, and let 2 of those guys walk. We could buy one guy who's a guarantee on the box. Let 3 of those guys walk, and we get another couple of guys who are guarantees on the box. And I think Sark realized now, in real time, I give him credit for this. I think now he's realized this thing is transactional. This thing is transactional as transactional can be. And what do you always say? It's not about showbiz or show friends. What's that saying about that?
Not show friends, it's show business.
And this is a business. And I think he's realizing in real time, these mofos ain't going to be loyal to me. And so you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go out and get the badass guys who want to be here. And he also just said, you know what? I'm no longer just going to take the risk of guys. I'm just going to get the bona fide stuff. Sometimes, Catch, you can go get there on your Yelp or your Google reviews. You can say, well, this restaurant, it's got like 60 reviews on it, and it looks like it's kind of good. Then you see one that's got like 1,000 reviews at like a 4.7. You're like, I'm just gonna go over there, right? I'm just gonna go to this restaurant because it's certified, it's bona fide, and he's literally doing that thing where they're like, I'm just gonna get the certified bona fide badasses. They went big game hunting, and they're landing the big fish. And I think the most important / encouraging thing about all this, Catch, is that Arch Manning being the franchise. The one thing you and I kind of complained about last season was, where are the weapons for this guy who might be a generational quarterback? We don't know how many more Manning quarterback. Well, I guess there's a younger Manning, right? But overall, this is a generational thing. And last year they went into it saying, well, we're just going to go with the guys who we developed, right? That's what the whole thing was. We're going to give him the guys we've developed. And now he's like, you know what, the hell with that. I'm just going to give him Cam Coleman. I'm going to give him Raleigh Brown. I'll give him Hollywood. We're just going to flush that thing. And now I look at it, Catch. As Sark, he's already made the defensive change with Muschamp, right? So you already bring in a badass defensive coordinator. Now you're bringing in these badass offensive weapons. Dude, I know it's an overreaction Sunday, but if I'm a Texas fan, I couldn't be more encouraged. And yes, offensive line, definitely need to fix that. That has to be a thing. But Catch, now I just sit back and wait. And I'm like, all right, well, let's see what happens this week, as opposed to hitting the panic, because I'm like, I don't see anything or not enough. Over the past few days, I'm like, oh, well, this is good. This is a good ass base.
No, they've done, other than offensive line, I think they've done the most of the heavy lifting that they would need to do. I think that where they can find good values and deals, they will eventually go into some bargain shopping bins. There's actually a buy or sell we'll get to in a second that I think is pertinent to this. Matter of fact, we'll knock out a few buy or sells before they get, or not buy or sells, but super chats to make sure that we encourage people to send them. This is a good time to do so. Where you been? 6303 says, Catch, give me a Shaq Kobe. How's my ass taste, Kobe? To all of the people on y'all's head questioning Sark being all in on where you backdoor because folks been disrespectful. LOL, hook 'em. What does that mean? On where you backdoor?
I don't know what that means.
I don't know.
Is it maybe Rodolfo? Is Rodolfo or Money B here? Can I have some of my young folks?
Somebody translate that for him. It is somebody that watches our shows a lot, because I do drop the Kobe how's my ass taste on where moments.
I don't get the
I will reference Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, I love that one.
Dropping that track on a stage many moons ago. If you don't, that's old now. If you guys are young, if you're 25 and you've never heard of the Kobe how's my ass taste, because when Kobe passed away, rest in peace, that story kind of died on a vine because for obvious reasons.
But they made friends. They made amends though.
They did, and I'm just telling you, we shouldn't forget history because it's uncomfortable. Go Google that, kids. Trust me, there's a video in it you're gonna want to see.
Yeah, but because I got young folks, I gotta hit pause because he said backdoor. So I hit pause on that. Pause. You need to explain what that means. Now I know young folks know what pause means, I'm saying pause with the backdoor thing. You need to explain what the hell that means.
Well, because I don't know what it means, but
well, I know the backdoor reference. I don't know what he means in this context.
I don't either, though. Like, I think I know what the reference should be, but I don't know where you fit into that. So
pause. Explain it, please.
Please. ATX Bates just says, thanks, Lubbock. What is that? Crap enchiladas? Who's a Texas X comp for Cam Coleman? Man.
X?
Ask yourself this, ATX Bates. How many first-round wide receivers has Texas had in the last quarter century? Xavier Worthy, and that ain't the comparison. Roy Williams, he and Roy aren't the same. Like, this is a big deal. He's not a guy that I think has a natural Texas comparison because Texas, these guys don't grow on trees. That's why we've led so many shows talking about Cam Coleman because he's big. Those guys typically don't move all the time. You know what? I would point to a guy like when Jordan Addison did it, when he transferred from Pitt, you had the reigning Thorpe Award winner. You know, it's kind of on that level. This is, let me put it to you like this. Cam Coleman will be first team all SEC and probably a preseason first team All-American. He and Devin Duvernay aren't, I don't know, Anwar, is there anybody like?
He said Texas X. Like, I don't think there's a Texas X that's
Matthew Golden may be the best comp. I don't, I'm just trying to think of a guy who, the more we got a chance to watch Matthew Golden, and last night was a perfect example, the touchdown that he scores. There's a little something different about Matthew Golden athletically that we didn't know when he showed up, but
yeah.
There were games last year where you would watch him and go, Jesus Christ, man, he's special.
Mm-hmm.
And Cam Coleman does that. And we've seen some great college players at Texas. I don't know at wide receiver, we've seen a lot of guys where we think to ourselves, that guy's worth the price of admission by himself. So maybe the best thing is I don't have a Texas X comp. The next Cam Coleman can get compared to Cam Coleman, but maybe Cam Coleman's not, maybe he's the first Cam Coleman, at which point that is a really good thing. By the way, you talk about a three-man, Cam Coleman, first team all SEC, Ryan Wingo, second team all SEC. You're talking about now on paper, the best 1-2 wide receiver punch, certainly in the SEC, just based off of the fact that both of those guys were regarded as top 6 players in the SEC this year. Throw in Emmett Mosley, throw in whomever from the 2025 class hangs out and sticks. No Jamie French, but nothing from Khalil Lockett at this point. It sounds like Dalen McCarthy. Like, we're still waiting to see, does anything else shake out from the portal? I still kind of anticipate there will be more names from the Texas side, but that's one of the better wide receiving cores, I think, now in college football. Because you had Cam Coleman to it. Like, that's what Cam Coleman does. There aren't many guys in college football where you can take that guy, slap him on any team and go, well, there aren't many teams in college football that they would trade wide receiver rosters for. That's what he does. You have him and Wingo, who Texas really, really, really likes. Okay, I'll tell you what, Arch, have yourself a day. Assuming everybody stays healthy.
50 spot came in catch, by the way. 50 spot.
No, I know. I'm scrolling down. I'm just catching up.
There ain't nothing higher than the 50.
Well, where is the 50? You bring up the 50.
All right, we get 50 spot came in, so let's do that.
From Angry Hammer. $49.99. Thank you, Angry Hammer. That's what you should do on a day when Cam Coleman commits to Texas. In the middle of a 10-hour, and this is how you get to the front of the line, by the way.
This is how you
in
get
the middle of a
10-hour
drive, but still have to come in and say, boom!
Wow.
I'm making 2026 Natty reservations right now. One-handed iPhone typing at 80. No.
I don't want you to die on the Cam Coleman day, please.
Cannot sign off on that. There's got to be a fine line between sending us $50 when you drive, because you might accidentally hit a 500.
That's
cool. Like if you're driving. So keep doing that. But do it safely and
There's a side of the road.
Do reservation. Wait till he did say he's doing the reservations tonight.
Okay, well, listen. First of all, there's a shoulder of the road. Okay, so this is what I know. You're in a 10-hour drive. Okay, I need you to get to the shoulder of the road right now. If not for your safety, for the safety of others. How about that? Like, let's just think about the other people on the road, and maybe you're doing 60. No matter what. Now, that being said, yeah, if you want to make your natty reservation, I don't even know what 2026 is. All I know is, Catch, I ain't going back to the Cheez-It Bowl. Me and Arch, he said he didn't want to go back. I ain't want to go back.
Here's the thing. If they end up in the Cheez-It Bowl next year, Arch ain't going to that game.
They end up in the Cheez-It Bowl. Sark going to need a U-Haul, okay? So there is that, right?
No, I'm just saying if they don't make if they play the Cheez-It Bowl and they missed out on the playoffs, I just think Arch at that point, assuming he has a good season, then they just don't make it. Would just go pro and not risk injury in that game. I don't think there's a world where Arch is playing in the Cheez-It Bowl, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, that's good. We're not even talking that world today.
Yes.
We are talking playoffs, natty. It's all back. Run back the expectations.
Jay Lee, $5 in a world where it seems like teams are heading closer to a 53-man roster. Does that show you how out of touch the NCAA is in expanding to 105? Now, Jay Lee, this is I'm going to push back on you on this because I think in the scope of major college football moving forward, this is going to be one of the areas where different programs approach this in different ways. I do think there's a really good chance that I'm going to read you just so like I'm not bullshitting you, right? I'm pulling up my text messages right now and I want to read you a text. Quote, every decision has been intentional. Our 40 have to be better than their 40, not their 65, not their 85, not their 105. That's what you're talking about, Jay Lee, ultimately. But look, I think, and where we may be seeing Texas go right now is that they're definitely not spending money on 85 players. Because I think some of this is still a real work in progress. I think they have an idea, but their ideas haven't functionally worked yet. So we're still in what they did in December is experimental, and they'll probably tweak it somewhere along the way based on how they sense it's working, whether or not trends change, whether or not the sport changes. But I think Texas is going to play closer to a 53-man roster, and they're going to try to beat teams with their 40 versus 40. I do think an Indiana or a Texas Tech or a Baylor or a Missouri or teams that don't spend between maybe 3 and 4. I don't know what the final number on Cam Coleman was, but it had to have been at least 3 million, at least. The teams that aren't doing that for Cam Coleman have to do something, have to approach this differently. When you look at what Indiana's done, they broke the model to a certain extent. The roster differentials in this discussion on WAR, I find really fascinating. This is the stuff I will nerd out at because I do think there will be teams that try to win with older guys, or I don't know, like everybody's going to have a different number, I think, of what they're aiming for. And I think the goal is to get the best 40 to 50 players possible. And if you can get some of those guys to be in your 40 or 50 and they're dirt cheap, great. But it might be that the only guys that are getting paid, really paid, are the top 40 guys. And if you're not being counted on to be in the top 40, you don't get paid. And if you get paid to be in the top 40 and you don't perform, you're not getting paid. And I think these are the new dynamics.
Yeah.
And you just can't have a 105-man scholarship board full of guys making money. So We don't know where the line is going to be drawn exactly, but I do think Texas is going to operate closer to a 53-man roster. And the problem will be that's in a year where you ever had injuries and suddenly you don't have bodies. We've seen, think about a couple of years ago at the running back position where in the middle of August we blinked and it was like, oh, maybe we should go get a grad transfer from SMU because what are we going to do? You run closer to a 53-man roster. The thing that teams in the NFL can do every year, they have a practice squad. And maybe the practice squad is really 53 through 80 on a college football roster, but you do have to have guys that you can use to play in an emergency. The 53-man roster in the NFL works, but they have an 18-man practice squad, and they can sign dudes off of other teams, and it is a different way than college football is set up. So I do wonder from an emergency contingency plan standpoint, how much contingency can you even allow yourself to have? These are the things that are being worked on right now. And anybody that says they have the answers is crazy because we're in the middle of the very first simulation, Anwar, and there will be plans that backfire because that's what happens, man, when you are making this up as you go.
The thing is, Catch, and just to kind of build off of what you're saying, the difference is every school has their own pot, right? And some pots are bigger than others, right? You and I talked about, and I wrote this in my column, like I feel bad for a guy like Jeff Traylor at UTSA, right? He's only got a small pot. All he can do is develop guys and let them go somewhere else. You got other schools that have, like Texas Tech, that has a huge pot, and Texas clearly has a huge pot. I think the thing is, and someone explained this to me very eloquently, and it makes all the sense in the world. They said, if all 85 of your guys want $1 million each, that is an $85 million roster, okay? No one can afford that. You just can't. If each guy says, I want $1 million each, sounds good. It's $85 million. So at some point, you have to say no. And what you have to do, and I think this is what Texas is having to do in a real-time adjustment, is saying, all right, we will make sure our elite guys are taken care of. Arch Manning, got your money. Trevor Gooseby, you got your money. Colin Simmons, you're cool. Ryan Wingo, you're good, right? You make sure your superstars are taken care of, guys that you feel like are going to be first-round talents, right? And then now they're saying, okay, if you're at that 700 range, 500 range, 600 range, and you want to walk, cool. Give us more money to go in the portal and spend on these other guys. And then you're just going to have a bunch of guys. I think you saw some of the correction, Catch, in the 2026 class. Because in 2025 class, Catch, they was collecting a whole bunch of 5 stars. And and then in 2026, Catch, you have to tell me, did they finish with a top 10 class so far? Or were they like 11th in some of these composite rankings?
For the portal or just in recruiting in general?
2026 recruiting class.
Yeah, they were
high school.
Borderline top 10.
Borderline, where before they was in that number 1 spot, right?
Top 3 every year.
And now they're like, you know what? We ain't going to spend like that no more. we are not going to do that anymore. And now they're saying, hey, in real time, that money that we could be spending on this kid, we're going to spend on the Cam Colemans of the world, the Reliques of the world. We're going to spend that money. And so when we start talking about an NFL style, there will be a top tier of guys who are making their money. There's just going to be a whole bunch of other guys that are going to be important but disposable if you feel like you don't want what they're offering.
Yeah, I mean, it's also interesting, and we're reacting to this in real time too. So you and I are having thoughts that we have not fully cultivated and explored. But 6 months ago, I think the people at Texas were really convinced that the changes that were coming to college football is going to drive prices down. I've had this conversation with a couple of sources. I'm always in the, yeah, but how do you control the Texas Techs of the world, right? You think that Deloitte or however you say it are going to come in and change this and keep everybody from breaking rules and just wild, wild west. But I don't know, man. I always kind of shrugged my shoulders and thought it just doesn't make sense that we go backwards now. That a team that cost 45 million or 40 million in 2024 or 2025 in the future will cost 25 million because of rules. And they believe that, Anwar. They really were planning with the idea that the market is going to correct itself. And $4 million for a player, get out of here. This David Bailey stuff, that's not going to happen in the future. I think Texas Tech, I think they've watched Texas Tech with a very curious eye. And I think they've watched them operate. I think they've watched Cody Campbell not only flaunt the money, but flaunt it on steroids. Like, that guy can't stop telling people how much money they're paying people. They're not being shy about it. And they definitely don't care that somebody at Deloitte might hear them and go, we should overlook some of their contracts. I think Texas wanted to do it a different way. I think the Tech stuff might have embarrassed them a little bit this year. And I think Texas Tech operating in a world where nobody's pulling them back motivated Texas to say, okay, they may never do this again, but this year, they're putting what Texas Tech did to shame. They just said, hold my beer. Because what Texas Tech did not do last year was get 7 or 8 guys that all are ranked inside somebody's top 25 rankings in the portal. They got a bunch of really good defensive linemen, but Texas is arguably, in terms of running backs that have gone into the portal, you could make a case they got the best wide receiver, 2 of the top 3 running backs, the tight end position adequately addressed. Like I said, offensive line, we won't have that conversation just yet. Gefford, to me, is a unique one-of-one defensive tackle in this marketplace. They got him in addition to getting Zion Williams, who just a year ago they were going gaga over, and we'll see if that means anything. They got the number 1 linebacker in the portal in Rasheem Biles, and for my money, maybe the best corner in Bo Masco. This is just, again, I can't help but tip my cap to, they said they were going to be aggressive. I don't know that in December or November when we first started reporting, all signs point towards them being very aggressive in the portal. I don't even think we would have thought that, again, got to leave the offensive line situation alone because that's its own show. But everything else, I don't know that I would have. I don't know. I know for a fact I would not have gone into a war room in December on war and said, prediction time.
Yeah.
Number 1 wide receiver, probably Cam Coleman, when everybody thought it was a lock to go to A&M. 2 of the 3 best running backs. Give us the defensive tackle that profiles the best for a Texas player. Let's get the best linebacker, let's just get the best of everything for the most part. I don't know that I would have said that, because those are the kind of promises and the kind of, like, you say that and it misses and they are hanging you out to dry forever. It's Austin on steroids. So that they've, I think, in a way, other than the offensive line, over-delivered on what I think realistically could have been expected, is a real tip of the cap. Like I would say to Brandon Harris and Steve Sarkisian and all of his support staff, well done. Like, you get the criticism when you don't sign anybody. Well, when you sign really, really good players that project to take this team potentially over the top, you're doing all that you can do in terms of building the program up from its infrastructure. At some point, the coaches then have to take the players and then make it work. But I think in terms of building the program, I think they've made quite a metamorphosis over the course of the last 12 months, even though just the last 2 months, in terms of how they're going to operate, what their ideology is, and whether or not they're willing to change it and how much they're willing to change it. On where I always talk about Sarkisian, I'll let this be my final point and we can wrap up.
Well, we got
a couple more super chats.
There's a tech thing I want to respond to, so go ahead.
Okay. I would just say, well, go ahead. I'll hold that thought.
My tech thing is this, because you brought it up, and I just wanted to say this. Tech had, over the last couple of years, been out Texasing Texas. And we've seen that Tech has shown, like, you go back to the recruitment of Felix Ojo, right? And Texas was like, man, I don't know if we should play for like that much money for like a premier offensive lineman, right? And we've seen Tech just say, well, we'll pay for it. We don't care, right? And we've seen Tech just basically say, attack the transfer portal and attack high school recruiting in a way. But Tech, to your point, when you talk about that guy, Cody, they just been like, we're going to do this. And Texas has been like, no, we don't need to spend that kind of money on these kind of guys. That's not what we do, and that's not who we are. And I think finally, when you say Texas has been watching them, I think Texas has watched them and say, you know what? Probably not a bad idea. You know what? What they're doing, we can actually probably do that a little bit better than what they're doing. And so they're overspending for everybody. We'll overspend for a few guys.
By the way, Texas now has the #1 portal class on 24/7.
They were at 41 when I wrote my article this morning, by the way. No, they're number 5 on On3. They were at 41 on On3 when I wrote my article this morning. It's good to go first sometimes. I'll just be honest with you.
Yeah, no doubt. Real quick, because I know you may be way behind. Prop Strike 489 says, would Sark run a 2-back set? I think, look, one of the things you can never say about Sark is like he's not open-minded to creating matchups and getting great players or good players on the field in ways that can hurt a defense. Will that be a ton of what he does? I mean, I think we know that they're going to be an 11 and 12 personnel most of the time. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised when you've got potentially 2 running backs as versatile as the 2 guys that they appear set on landing. Yeah, I think you can do all kinds of things. I wouldn't, don't go too crazy with that thought.
He's not gonna run a wishbone, right?
Exactly. And neither of those guys are gonna be playing fullback for the other.
Exactly.
But could you see both in the backfield and one guy motion out or both guys? You know what I mean? There's a lot of they're toys. When I used to collect He-Man when I was a kid, it wasn't just He-Man and Skeletor fighting for Castle Grayskull. I got the G.I. Joes and the Transformers. Everybody, it was like the Avengers. You mix them up. And you never knew. One day, Skeletor and He-Man might be on the same team because they got to take on the Transformers. When you get toys and you get enough of them, eventually you mix them together and you just...
You know what toy this is? Voltron.
What's that?
Voltron.
The one where you ask for a wish?
No, the one when they all formed. They were like kind of like these panther kind of looking things.
Oh,
and
yeah,
they got together. They formed this gigantic mega thing that couldn't be stopped. They brought out the sword, and so they could all fight, all into whatever. And then when they activated and got together, boom, that was Volator or something like that you're thinking of. I'm talking about like Voltron though.
I know what you. I know. Anyway, Paul for $9.99 says, "Great day. Do you think recruiting services start making composite offseason results showing grades for both recruits and poor results instead of just recruiting?" Paul, they're already doing that.
Yeah, they do it now.
I think they're still trying to figure out how to properly merge the two together. And I don't think they haven't figured it out really, but they are trying. Trust me, I would imagine over the course of the next 4 months, because I think this is also really important, guys. As Texas moves on from here, one of the things I'm constantly being told is the 16th is when the portal closes from an entering standpoint. There will be thousands of guys in the portal that will have not made decisions by the time the portal closes. One of the things Texas will be looking to do at every position is, once the urgency of what do we got to do now is over, I think they'll be depending on their scouting staffs to try to supplement. And this may be an area where maybe they do go to a junior college to find an offensive lineman or a Matthew Caldwell type to be a quarterback on this team, so that nobody that would get in the way of KJ Lacey, but somebody that would protect the fact that you want Diabell to redshirt, as an example. Plus, we're used to, how many walk-on quarterbacks do they always have on the roster, Anwar? It's like 3 or 4.
It's around 3.
They only have one from last year's team scheduled to come back. Sark has not talked about whether or not they'll still take walk-ons, or will they just put all walk-ons on scholarships because they can? There's still some, I don't know what's going to happen. But if Texas took the 3 they have and then added this walk-on who's from Austin McCallum, my old high school, and I don't want that kid to not be on the team. It's pretty cool. Did not have McCallum guys ever make anybody's team that we lose a walk-on spot. Even if you brought him in, 4 is less than they typically work with. And all it would take is for a couple of quarterback injuries, and then you're playing Diabell and your backup quarterback is Michael Terry. I don't know. So they do need to go get a quarterback. And all I'm saying is that there will be a lot of additions all over the country throughout the year. Prepare yourself for that. There's still, I think, a lot of work that can be done after the 16th closes, even if the lion's share of the heavy lifting has been eliminated. Okay, let me see. Where else? We still got Dirk Lee says, who is RB1? We'll see. Go get it, guys.
Hey, today it's probably Raleek, but who knows? Look, you've got at least now, Catch. You got a 3-headed monster, right? You got Hollywood, you got Raleek, you got Christian Clark. I'm good, Catch. Whatever happens after that, if you tell me that's your 3 deep at this moment, so be it. I know James Simon is there.
If anybody has to leave in order to have made that happen, oh well. No offense to anybody, but there's a little bit of Christian Clark may now transfer. And look, I get it. Why would you look, real talk? Why not? If he has options, if Christian Clark has options, I don't know why he would be volunteering to go into a situation next year where he's 4th in the pecking order behind guys that are being paid way more than him.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a stacked deck. You could say, come back and list all of the reasons why he should stay, but none of them would be playing time. So
same goes
into this. Maybe a freshman receiver because you brought in Cam Coleman. They're going to be losers when there are winners. That's how it works. You don't get to be a winner if there wasn't something on the line that somebody else lost. And, I think that, again, everybody needs to prepare themselves for the likelihood that there will be more attrition in the coming days. But I think Texas is completely comfortable with whatever it is that they lose on the portal side. I think they're okay with. I think they've initiated some of these departures, and what that means from here, we'll soon see.
And by the way, Catch, kind of like you pointed out before, a Michael Terry. If you're Michael Terry, you start out in the receiving room, and then you got pushed to the running back room, and now they're adding all these bodies. You're like, oh shoot. Well, maybe I
mean, I'm not telling those guys to leave, because if you're Texas, you'd like for those guys to stay, but they have to stay because they want to stay and not because there's an amount of money that's keeping them here. Because I think, like I said at the very beginning of this show, Texas is going to pay for probably its best 40 players. And everybody that's not in, if you're not on the 2 deep, and you're making a noticeable enough sum that it's one of the reasons why you came to the school that you came to, Texas, you probably just need to have enough self-awareness to know, dude, that gravy train, they pull in the gravy train. You get it for maybe a year. They're probably not trying to do it multiple years in a row. $20 super chat. Can you talk a little bit about our portal prospects for the offensive line? Well, they signed a guy from Oregon State who will give you depth. They're going after a kid from Yale who it does seem like they like a lot. And to this kid's credit, he's got Oregon and a number of other big-time programs that are after him. He's a legit guy. They missed on the 2 Michigan guys, which they thought they were going to get, and it really impacted the way they handled offensive line recruiting right out of the gate. There were guys that you looked at and went, those guys look like guys that could help Texas a lot. But I think they felt like they're going to get the 2 Michigan guys. Both of those guys will be starters. Both of those guys will allow Texas to put 5 guys they feel really good about. Then they can just get some depth guys and sprinkle it in and taken care of. I don't know that they've gotten their starting guys yet. And I think that is a just future for Hayes. I think that's the rub right now. There are 2 real questions or conversations about the portal. Texas is killing it almost everywhere, except for the one position that everybody stresses out the most about, at which point it's still a work in progress. That's all we got. Anwar, is there literally anything else to add?
I would just say this. Hey, just we let the staff do what they do. Like, I hate to be that guy, but I'm just it's almost like someone called me this morning, Catch, and they said to me, and that person knew what was about to go down, and they didn't necessarily spill the beans. But you know what they said? You guys always love to freak out about everything that we do. You guys always like to worry about it. And he said, look, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. And literally a couple of hours afterwards, things start falling into place. As it relates to the offensive line, here's what I would say. Right now, today, I'm not thrilled about it. I don't like it. But I will tell you this. I probably was feeling the same way on Friday as relates to a lot of the Texas activity in the transfer portal. And on Sunday, I feel a whole lot differently. So all I know is they've got until guys, like Ketch said, guys have until Friday to enter the portal. If I was you, just the future of Hayes, I'd just sit back, relax, and chill and say, all right, let's see what they do. And I'm not going to freak out about it. I'm not going to freak out about it because I was, and I got called out about it a little bit.
Well, can I give you a retort the next time you have a phone call?
Sure.
You tell him Ketch said he wishes it had been okay this year with all the shit he complained about during the offseason that ended up causing you guys to go 9-3 and not making the playoffs.
Now, that part is true, and we had conversations about that. Now, we had conversations.
Like the season.
Yeah, you're wrong. Listen, you're not wrong. And
I know, but you're not either. That's where these two things can exist together, not automatically mutually separate from each other. Yeah. I get what anybody would be saying, because I do think, as it relates to what's happening right now, they've earned some trust this year in the portal. Last year, people were calling them cheap. Last year, they were calling them lazy. That is, if they don't get offensive linemen in this class that meets their desires, it will not be because they were either A, lazy, or B, cheap. It will be because they didn't get the guys they wanted, and then maybe they didn't target enough guys because they were overconfident on guys. But for everything but the offensive line so far, they smashed. I don't think they're going to get smashed because they're lazy and won't spend money. My God, they've offered some absolute just okay players ridiculous amounts of money on the offensive line. Not all Americans, just guys that are good. So they can't make some of these guys take their money, but my God, they have thrown it out in front of a couple of guys only to see it turned down. Now we'll see. I'll tell you this. There will be agents who have had some offensive linemen not take deals that are trying to find some offensive line clients right now that they can go back to Texas with and go, hey.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Michigan guys didn't work. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
But I got a couple of guys from Michigan State. Can we still get?
Yeah. And here's one thing we know: Texas will tell you no. They will tell you no. They will tell you no.
They've got 5 days now to figure out who they can get into the portal. We'll see.
All right,
I don't have an answer for you. I've got all kinds of questions. It obviously doesn't look, as Anwar said, doesn't look great, but I would just point to Rasheem Biles and Hollywood Smothers. Those dudes weren't even on the radar, really, 5 days ago.
No.
It just looked like, okay, well, those aren't guys that Texas is interested in. One of those guys committed to another school. And it probably like they are being aggressive to the point that they're still going after guys. Think about if this were dating and Anwar announced an engagement and you were like, oh, hey, Anwar, congratulations, man. You guys are good together. And then later that night called her and asked her out on a date. And you're like, don't you know that I just committed to Anwar? Oh, I know you committed, but it's me. That's what Texas did with Hollywood Smothers. That kid not only, he recruited Alabama. Now, you know what Alabama's saying today? Texas money whipped them. Better to be on the side that's allegedly money whipping than it is to be on the side crying about getting your ass money whipped.
Yeah, because Texas, you know what Texas said? Well, you ain't married yet.
And you know what? Texas wasn't wrong. And you know what? In the end, Texas ended up being right because that kid came down to Austin and had a good time and ain't going back to Tuscaloosa anytime soon.
They said, you're engaged? Oh, yeah, but you ain't married yet. Hey, come on, hang out with me a little. Now, when you get married, that's a totally different game, but you're still on the market technically, right?
You got it, man? What's that got to do with me? For the kids out there, look that one up. That was a banger back in the day.
That's real quick.
Buck Wild, $5. I just got here. So the way too early projected starting wide receivers, Coleman, Wingo, Lockett. I don't think so, Buck Wild. Anwar, you tell me. Look, I think there's a lot of talk about Emmett Mosley having played the slot at Stanford.
Yeah.
And that he might be able to be your. I think keep an eye on a slot receiver in the portal now. Now that they've got once Cam Coleman signs, I wouldn't be surprised if they were like, okay, well, what's left? And I think they could put Mosley in the slot.
Yep.
I think today Mosley's in their 3 best wide receivers.
Yes, they love
so the
him.
Best 3 guys would be Wingo, Mosley, Coleman, and all 3 of those guys would be on the field. Dalen McCutcheon is obviously a guy that has a chance to play his way in. Khalil Lockett, I mean, look, Khalil Lockett's got the pedigree to surge past all of these guys, completely honest. It just didn't happen in year 1, but assuming that everything's good there, they've got, again, just adding, Texas's problem is that not that they had no B's or C's, is they didn't have an A.
Yeah.
They'll probably go into next season with an A+ and an A-, a couple of B's, and then some C's. And that is significantly, is it like the running back position? It's a dramatic difference.
They went into it with Wingo, Livingston, DeAndre Moore.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, I guess. And it took a while for Wingo to get going. I've never been a Livingston fan. And, DeAndre Moore was okay here and there. And now you go into it, you're like, oh, snap.
Yeah.
You got some killers right now.
Well, to the people that would talk up Parker Livingston, I would say, look, because what happens is you like your players, and sometimes they score touchdowns. So you're like, whoa, Parker Livingston's my dude. That dude scored some important touchdowns. And my return is like, look, is the goal to beat Georgia and Ohio State
in
the semifinals or a national championship? Or is it to go 9 or 10-3 and beat A&M and beat Oklahoma, but not get to the finish line?
Yeah.
And this year, they took a step back at wide receiver. In the 2 previous years, they went to the college football playoffs. Their wide receivers on one year was Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
The very next year, when healthy, they had Isaiah Bond and Matthew Golden, both of whom were first and second day NFL draft picks if things don't happen.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was a very high first round draft pick. And then this year they went to something a much bigger step back from that. This upcoming year, I think they'll feel like, and I won't be surprised when Sarkisian starts to say this, they're going to say, Cam Coleman, we think is going to be a first round draft pick. And they're going to talk about Ryan Wingo going into the next season, that he's a guy they think by the end of this season will have that kind of a pedigree. And if they're right, then look, the pieces are there.
But what outside of last season, what did all of those guys that you mentioned, what did they have in common? All of them were portal guys.
Oh, yeah.
Xavier Worthy transferred in.
Technically.
Right? Technically, he's a transfer from Michigan, right? You mentioned Adonai Mitchell. You mentioned Matthew Golden. You mentioned Isaiah Bond, right? And then you took a step back last year with the guys that you're quote-unquote developing. Now you got Ryan Wingo. That's cool. Then you go back to the other guys that you have. And Emmett Mosley, transfer portal guy. Cam Coleman. All those guys are basically transfer portal guys.
Don't look now. You're kind of a transfer portal school. Sark doesn't know it, but even his quarterback up until this year was there's more going on in the portal than I think Sark has wanted to admit. But look, I will say this, and then I'll let this actually be my last comment, because I do.
You have work to do. We still have more work to do.
Yes, I do. I really do. And thank you to Cody, if you're watching, for jumping in and helping with the instant analysis on a couple of these.
Can I say thank you, Cody, for being a guy? I know you always ask our staffers to jump in on Orange Bloods, but can I say thank you, Cody, for always jumping in on the YouTube shows and participating in that? Because I will just be honest with you, Cody's the only staffer that does it.
I don't even do it all the time.
And I will give Cody his props. Like Cody jumping in, whether it's in the Orange Blood stuff, in the chat. Thank you, Cody. I let me share that. I know people think I'm an asshole on the staff, but Cody, I do like you.
We notice these things. That's why I always talk to the staff about doing it. Everybody knows who reads their stuff and doesn't. And
I know. I can tell you who never reads my shit. I can tell you who's never commented on anything I've ever written. Okay,
it's funny how that works. There's so many people on the site who will post. Yes, they do reveal themselves. All right, so guys, I'm tired.
All right, can I just do one thing real quick?
Yeah,
and then we're done. Can I show you the Voltron graphic?
Oh, I like that. We're not going to get a copyright on that, are we?
Nah, because it's a GIF.
Okay. Well, I knew what you meant once you started to say it.
Yeah. That's what Sark has. He has the Voltron thing.
Boom. And on that note, guys, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. We do appreciate all the support you give us as a channel. More than 200,000 subscribers. The growth that we've had in this last year, pretty amazing. It's all you. You guys watch the shows. You guys click the buttons. Thank you for doing so. For myself and Jason Sukumel, who was here earlier, but then Hollywood Smothers happened and he had to go work. Onward Richardson, who go check out his Sunday pulpit. It's really good. I'll have my 10 thoughts out later. The content never stops flowing.
Subscribe to Orange Bloods, man. We've been on it.
Okay. We have. Even there's so many people at Orange Bloods who've told us that this is the best week of Orange Bloods they've ever experienced. Don't miss out. Scan that QR code. Go sign up today for $1. Go see what we're all about. And if you don't like us, you can cancel. No skin off your back. $1. You piss on $1. Well, give us the Pete on dollar and see if you'll give us some more. For Anwar and myself and for the entire Orange Bloods team, have a fantastic Sunday. Go watch some NFL if you made it through this far into the video, or watch another video on Orange Bloods Live. We have tons of them. We'll talk to you tomorrow on our Overreaction Monday show. Woo. What on earth will we have to talk about? That's for us to figure out. Maybe we'll just run this back. People will want to listen to us talk about Cam